Hi, I'm Dean Sage.
And I'm Jack Hervin,
And this is Show Me Your Deck,
a podcast where we explore the intersections of oracles and chakras,
using our original decks to create new insights. Episode 33.
Wow.
A triple
They just
prime.
keep piling up, don't they?
They do. It's been fun. We're doing a back-to-back of like we usually do. And you mentioned in between episodes, right? So after we recorded episode 32 and then before we started this one, that it was like cracking an egg, getting back into it.
Mm-hmm.
I like that metaphor. You got to crack the egg, you got to break it, but then once you do, you can make something truly wonderful.
Like chocolate cake.
Yes. Chocolate
I think
cake.
I want some chocolate cake. I don't know where that came from, but I want maybe because I'm hungry.
The trouble with chocolate cake, I feel, is
Wait,
that...
pause. There is no trouble with chocolate cake. You may now continue.
There's so many variations of it.
True.
And some of them are moist.
No, it's not. Okay, that's the problem with chocolate cake right there.
Some of them end up dry, and it's chocolate, but it's dry, and so it confuses me. It makes me angry.
You know what I want now instead of chocolate cake?
What?
I want... Oh, you know what? There's a cake that they make over at the grocery store. It's a lemon pound cake with blueberries in it that they stack like cake and then cover with lemon frosting.
Mm.
Ooh, that's yummy.
Well, I'll tell you my favorite, and you cannot find it on the East Coast. I have tried.
Okay.
Is the French silk pie.
No, you can't find it. No.
The French silk pie is the most magnificent chocolate creation ever known to man because it doesn't require the cake to be cooked correctly. Baked correctly. It's just layers of decadence and then topped with shavings of chocolate decadence. And it is the perfect chocolate everything.
Bienvenue à ma vie. Yes.
I love it, and I haven't had it in over a decade, and I don't know if I'll ever have it again. But the memory of it sits with me, and then the little wisps of whipped cream on the top, just
Just a little boop.
Yes, it's glory. I don't know who invented it, but they love chocolate. They are in love with chocolate, and they have created a masterpiece. And for some reason, only Marie Callender's on the West Coast ever seems to make it.
We should look up a recipe.
I have. It's complex because it's mousse.
Oh yeah,
It's
you
mousse.
get the textures right.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 kinds of mousse. There's layers. You gotta get the crust right. So we haven't attempted it. It's my birthday wish every year, and every year we're like, do we do it? Do we attempt it? Do we make it?
Start 3 days prior.
Exactly. And it's baking, which I am not good at baking.
I love baking.
I don't follow rules.
Oh yeah, you have to do that in baking.
Yes.
With other cooking, you can kind of improvise, but not with baking. Baking is chemistry.
My grandmother instilled cooking in me, and you cook to your ancestors.
Yeah.
You just feel like it infuriates my spouse because my spouse is a baker. It infuriates my spouse because I just sort of like, okay, this looks, yep, that's good.
Okay, that smells nice. All right, let's go.
Yeah, let's do a little this, a little that. And I just make it, and it's maybe a little different every time. I don't know. It's just I don't like to be. It's like me and my writing. I don't like to be constrained by an outline, and I don't like to be constrained by a recipe, which is kind of the same thing.
I guess I cook the same way I write. I like to have some structure, but I like to do whatever I want within it.
Yeah, maybe that's something we can do a whole other podcast about.
Because that's how I choreograph too.
It's interesting. So maybe the way that you cook is the way that you create. Maybe there's a tie between those two. Oh, I have to say before we go on, there's a restaurant that I discovered. I think it's here on the East Coast, where it's just a bunch of nonas. There's like 13 or 14 nonas, and they each come in and take a turn being the chef for the night. So every 2 weeks they're on. and they just make their own family recipes for you. And
That's cool.
It sounds the most glorious thing I've ever heard in my life, because yes, that's what I'm used to. I didn't have a Nona. I had a Grams, grandma's, we had some different names for her, but like she would just create. She would just go to the kitchen and create. And it was wonderful and magnificent.
My grandma she made really great turkey with the stuffing. We would like grind up the gizzards and livers and everything and do all the bread and everything. We would actually stuff it inside. So it was a proper stuffing. But really, there wasn't much else that she made from scratch that was like grandma's special recipe. So when people are like, just like your grandmother made, I'm like, I hope not. Oh, no.
That was my Nana. My Nana was like, if it came on the back of a can, she could probably do it. But that was about it. Yeah, she didn't really have anything special.
No, my grandma instilled a desire in me to like make simple stuff and then pick at it. So I'm very good at charcuterie platters, and I'm good at just assembling stuff onto plates, and it looks really pretty and it's yummy. She didn't care about the way it looked, but I do. But I think she's probably where I get that readiness to just pick and eat and not have to make anything complex.
Foraging.
Yes. But I put it on the plate in such a way that it actually looks civilized.
Civilized foraging.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get a card.
All right. Let me roll the tetrahedron.
Let's get a deck. Let's get a card.
The tetrahedron of doom. Where'd it go?
Is it the fairy tetrahedron?
On one, so we're starting with the intersections, which is my sassy deck. Oh boy, here we go. She's popping off already. Number 12. Wait, whoop, I grabbed the wrong deck. This is the intersections deck. I need the projections deck. There we go. That's the sassy one. I opened up this one and it looked like a flower garden. I was like, that's not the right deck. So deck number 1, card number 12. What's she going to say to me? Oh, here she is. And this is the visceral chakra. This is orange. This is metal. This is I feel, and how it is impacted by third eye, blue, water. So metal and water. We've done metal and water before, but it was the inverse of this before. Okay. So number 12, spit out that purple drink. Turn off Fox News. Turn off MSNBC. Turn on Mr. Rogers. Spit out that purple drink. Turn off Fox News. Turn off MSNBC. Turn on Mr. Rogers.
Okay, I just have to lodge a formal protest against the deck.
Okay.
Because I did not want us to do a political show, and the world is conspiring against me in that, I it's not that I don't want to talk about politics. I do talk about politics. Everything is politics, et cetera, et cetera. And you can't really talk about spiritual matters without talking about the way that they influence the world and work with the world. But my God damn it, can I just lodge a formal protest against this card? Because it is said that the entirety of this reading is based around.
We started with chocolate cake.
Fox News is listed specific.
MSNBC. Let's go back to apple pie. Let's do apple pie. Let's talk. We can ignore this and we'll talk some more about apple pie. You know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about banana pudding. Banana pudding, honey.
Just formal protest against your deck.
She's sassy.
Cannot
spit out that purple drink.
Cannot with her right now.
And I would like to point out that it says drank, not drink.
Yes.
Spit out that purple drink.
No, I'm not Southern. What is the purple drink?
Ooh, purple drink?
Yes. What is?
So purple drink is, I guess means Kool-Aid, really. It's just grape Kool-Aid, but we call it purple drink.
I never had grape Kool-Aid. We always had the red flavor.
Oh, purple drink is the stuff. Purple drink is the stuff, but purple drink also happens to be the flavor of Kool-Aid that they used down in Jonesboro when the pastor down there convinced hundreds of people to poison themselves with Kool-Aid.
See, I always thought it was red Kool-Aid because that's just, in my head, Kool-Aid is red.
Oh, Kool-Aid has like 600 different flavors. It might only have 4 colors, but it's got 600 flavors. No, it's got red, but red can be cherry or strawberry or fruit punch. Orange is orange.
Kool-Aid wasn't a big thing for me. Like there was some people that made it, but it was also socioeconomic. So it was considered, where I come from, was considered poor.
Oh, it is poor. It's like 13 cents for a packet of the powder, and you just get a jug of water.
It was, it was of lower economic status. It's
the bottom, which is where my people were rolling.
Which is funny because we were poor. I didn't lack for food, so I wasn't at the level of food insecurity, but we definitely didn't have a lot of money. So something like Kool-Aid maybe would have made sense. Maybe, I don't know, maybe my mom hated it. I don't remember. There's details I'm not sure about on that.
Well, there's a lot of associations with it. I know that purple drank is also, at least here in the South, I mean, everybody drinks grape Kool-Aid, but purple drank is a black colloquialism specifically. Because we call it grape Kool-Aid or whatever, but they specifically call it purple drank.
Interesting.
Instead of purple drink.
Well, there's that's actually interesting. We're talking about the news, and I think talking about appropriation of African American colloquial English. The gays have definitely done that, but I mean, for good reason. The civil rights movement led to the gay rights movement. There's a direct line. Our foremothers, because there was a lot of lesbians, our foremothers taught us, and we took some of their culture with us.
There's a lot of admiration there.
Yeah, I think in modern day the history has been lost, and so it seems more appropriative. But there's a deep connection between black lesbian and white gay.
Yep.
They cared for us when we were dying of AIDS.
Yep, they did.
No one else would touch us.
Nope, they wouldn't. It's very interesting throughout American history. You've got the black nanny stereotype, or the black female caregiver, whatever trope. And then on the other hand, you've got this idea that you need to be afraid that black people are around your children. It's like, but then you have them in your house raising them. Like I had a boyfriend who grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, and he had a black nanny. He was very, 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 very old money. And at least when he was growing up, I guess it would have been in the 50s and 60s, maybe the 70s as well. Charleston, South Carolina still acted like it was, still antebellum. And I guess that's just, he was so strange. I've had so many white boyfriends who were racist. It's just gross. But yes, another example of a black woman raising a white child, and then that white child growing up to dislike black people. It's just it's so weird. It's part of the drink that needs to be spat out. Just spit it out.
Well, I mean, we're just jumping right into it. Yeah, there's a sense of othering, even though there's a sense of, so it's like fond memories of a nanny. Like I told you on the last episode, my mom had a black nanny. My grandmother was a socialite. She ran the social calendar. My grandfather was a radio personality in the era they were in, and I think he was honorary mayor at one point in time. They were high society from where they came from, and yeah, it's weird. It's a fond memory, right? But it's also a sense of othering and people in their place and systemic racism. Like you talked about having racist boyfriends. I mean, we're all caught up in the systemic nature of the beast. And I guess,
well, the way we benefit from it, even if we don't want to.
Yeah. Every day I benefit. I work with a lot of women. In healthcare, it's weird. It's very weird in healthcare because the underpinning layers of healthcare are almost entirely women. So I work in pathology, which is, you have a biopsy taken, or they have to take out a organ, or they take out a piece of you, right? There's something. Oftentimes, the doctor who's the surgeon is not diagnosing you. They're not an expert in diagnosis. They're an expert in doing the surgery, but they're not an expert in diagnosing what the problem is. And so pathologists will review the tissue and make the actual diagnosis. So these are the doctors that are trained in the diagnosis. They're diagnosticians. Almost entirely the labs are run by women, but the doctors are almost entirely men.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like, all the professional football teams have white coaches with black players. It's like, it's just weird. So we have the idea of what a leader looks like and what a worker looks like, and it might adjust a little bit for every career, but ultimately it prefers gender and it prefers race no matter where you are. It's just weird that isn't something like 80% of professional football players are black, but like 96% of the coaches are white, or something just completely weird.
I don't follow the sports ball, but that sounds like we're in the zone.
Yeah. Or like what you're talking about when you have all these women doing the work, but they're being managed by a man, a doctor who tends to be male. But
well, and then my point that I was actually making, and I forgot about while I was making the point, was that they'll reach out and try to get something done. They'll try to get an invoice. They'll try to get order put through. They'll reach out about things. The minute I do it, and part of it's my title, right? So I mean, you have to accept that part of it. But as soon as I step in and make a phone call or send an email, suddenly the floodgates open, and what we need arrives. And
yeah,
and then I'm in my title, although the other me, the other person that got hired into this new role is a woman. So like we've got a little bit of diversity at least.
Does she get the same response you do when she makes calls?
I don't know. I don't think so. She's having more trouble than I did wrangling some of the same things. She has a different environment. So it's not an apples to apples comparison. Her environment and my environment were different environments. But I do think that she's being, pushed about a little bit more than I would have been, even with the same title.
Gotcha. Well, so coming back to the card in terms of, spitting out purple drank and turning off Fox News and turning off MSNBC, what the card is reminding us is that it doesn't matter which side of the spectrum your information is coming from. If it's pulling at your emotions and making you act illogically, then you need to be aware of it, because this is the intersection of emotionality and instinct and sensation with wisdom, with knowledge, with learning. So the way in which your emotions, your instincts are influenced by what you learn and the way you see the world. So whether it's coming from the left or the right, it doesn't really matter if it's pulling you out of balance. And so the last suggestion here is to turn on Mr. Rogers. So the idea here being that you can still learn a lot from a soft, kind, gentle, wise voice.
Remind me of the chakras here again. I lost them in the discussion.
The orange one would be second chakra. So this is visceral chakra. Svadhisthana, and then third eye blue is Ajna.
Okay, yeah. So we have almost opposing things coming into connection.
Yeah, they're not polar, because it's not root and crown. It's one up and one down. So each is nested just inside the polar opposite.
Yeah, but there is a lot of times where we try to separate these two ideas, but they go together. You can't not be emotional even when you're being rational. Like, it's impossible to just completely shut down emotion. Emotion's always part of it, because it's wired in your brain. We talked about this last episode. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's wired in your brain. The pathways of your brain are wired to react, not to think.
Well, and I'd like to point out that number 12 came up not too many episodes ago. Mm-hmm. It came up in a different format. It came up in the format where we were looking at the factory dumping toxic metal sludge into a river. That's what this one is, in sassy format. Being aware of the way in which your emotions, sensations, instincts are influenced, impacted by what you learn, what you observe, what you know, how you see the world.
Here, though, I hear an expulsion of those things, not into the public, right? Like not into affecting others, but sort of an expulsion from yourself of like, no,
exactly.
I am taking the sludge out of myself. I'm not improperly disposing of it, but I am taking it out of myself.
And that's why having 4 decks is interesting with my system, because I can play with different nuances with each deck. And so although this has come up in the past in terms of being aware of emotionality and sensation and instinct, in terms of, it's how it's impacted by, your third eye, this is talking about getting it out of yourself, not looking so much as how it pours out on other people, but how it pours into you and what you can do to try to purge it out from you. And choosing what you are going to bring in, which in this instance, for Sassy's sake is Mr. Rogers. But the idea being that whatever direction the information is coming from, it can still be toxic. There's plenty of stuff on Fox News that's toxic. There can be plenty of stuff on MSNBC and CNN and all the other. It doesn't matter what the news sources.
They're going for views.
All be bad.
Yeah, they're going for views. All of them are going for views and ad revenue
and clickbait and emotional response.
They're all going to be owned by the same person before we turn around. So there's not going to be a difference.
They are specifically, to your point, they are specifically looking for emotional responses because of information, and that is what this card is about. Emotional responses that come about because of information. So what are you bringing in? What are you getting out?
Yeah.
And if you're going to spit out that purple drink, that's the invitation to think for yourself. I'm pretty sure, I'd have to look it up. I'm pretty sure that the poison that they used down in Jonesboro was arsenic, which is a metal. And it's mixed into, Kool-Aid, which is a water. And so there's a lot of purposeful imagery here in this card. Spit the metal tainted water out. Stop bringing more toxicity in. Bring in something that actually makes you happy.
Well, I mean, Mr. Rogers doesn't just make you happy. I mean, it does make you happy, but
it makes you learn. He makes you grow.
Yeah, I mean, the things that Fred Rogers did as a person are incredible.
He saved PBS.
He did wonderful things for people. He did kind things for people. He acted in a positive manner towards other people, regardless of their race or creed. He was a unifying figure, not a polarizing figure. A unifying figure.
Have you seen the video of him? What's the word? Testifying before a Senate committee, and he was put in front of somebody who wanted to just chop his entire show, and ended up over the course of like 5 or 6 minutes just talking, and the guy came back and wanted like dectuple his funding. I mean, he just had that ability to speak truth using emotion, but not being manipulative and not being gross and not being poisonous. So he could take emotionality and information and use it for the purpose of wisdom instead of using it for the purpose of hysteria.
Well, he told stories, and this goes way back. This goes way, way, way back. But we as humans developed culture around stories, which is why we still eat up movies and books, and why we still, gossip and talk, right? We are just deeply connected to story. And that's what he did, is he told stories. And they had purpose. They had things that we would learn from them, but they carried meaning and they carried culture with them, and they were intentional. But they're stories, and we deeply, deeply imbibe stories. And it's interesting, that we call them news stories, because in the same way they're trying to get your emotions. But what makes Mr. Rogers different is that he's trying to connect with the good pieces of you, the positive pieces, the ones that can create lasting change, and not just these moment by moment explosions of emotion.
Yeah. So for now, it sounds like the opening of the reading is a calling to remember that you have a choice about not only what information you take in, but how it affects you emotionally, and understanding what its purpose even is for being there.
And we're not quite action, right? We're in emotions, we're in metal, but there's in this one, there is a little bit of a call to action, in that you need to expel those things
and
that
then filter.
Are poisonous to you.
Yeah. Expel the toxic, filter for the good.
Let us get some more context for this reading. This one's a little bit buzzy today. This one's very energetic. Let's see, what do we got here? Oh, we have the Seeker of Waves. So second chakra still. Seeker of Waves. So this is the thoughtfulness, not as the pre-action. The Seeker is like the sort of the pre-action, the thoughtfulness, the planner, the dreamer. And the message is, trust the dreams that rise from your depths. Trust the dreams that rise from your depths.
Especially once you've gotten rid of the toxic stuff, filtered for the good, and now what can come up out of the water is genuinely you and not somebody else acting crazy through you.
Well, and I like the metaphor of water because at the surface of the ocean, it's very tumultuous, right? There's churning winds and rising seas and waves and just, tossing ships back and forth. But as you go deeper, it settles. It becomes more solid, literally. And there you have peace from the roiling of the surface. And that's where the dreams that rise from those depths, right, rise from the peaceful emotions. Those are the ones that you can trust. And those are the ones that can drive you forward. So in the context of the reading, we sort of purge at the start. We purge ourselves. And now we are called to think about those deep dreams, those deep callings that you have, the things that come from the core of your being.
Well, it's that first card was a process, to your point. It is that purging. Now, when something bubbles up from beneath, the card is telling you specifically, trust the dreams that come from your depths. Is that what it said?
Mm-hmm. Trust the dreams that rise from your depths.
Okay, well, you can trust them especially if you're filtering out other people's dreams. You know that these are your dreams. So go through that process of understanding specifically what's coming from you and what's coming from somebody else. And then, understand that what is coming up from your own depths is wanting to be expressed. It came to the top. It must be here for a reason. Trust that. You've done the filtering. It's not going to be toxic because you already filtered that out. And let it manifest. It's here now.
We can get so much distraction, right? I mean, you talked about the news channels, but Reels, TikToks, all of these things, we can get so much reaction. And again, it's all about views. Like there's some people that I follow that are TikTokers, but I don't TikTok. It's not because I'm better than anyone or more moral or more intellectual. I just refuse to use another app. It's conservative brain. I just refuse. I don't want another app. I just don't. I'm becoming an old man, and I
don't want the 5 I've got.
I get the same content on Instagram because they double post. So I'm like, why would I go to TikTok?
I've noticed that too. They format stuff and they're talking about, we're on TikTok. I'm like, well, I'm not on TikTok. So I'm glad you put it here. TikTok. So I'm glad you put it here because I'm not going to get TikTok. I had it. They threatened to ban it, so I deleted it. They're like, no, we're not going to ban it. I'm like, well, I already deleted it. Bye.
So I just refuse to have another app. That's all there is to it. There's nothing special or intentional about it. It's just I just don't want another app.
I'm done.
So there's some people, some TikTokers that, I do really good work. And I actually, one of my primary news sources is a TikToker because she does good work. She sources things, she summarizes them. It allows me to kind of very quickly get true things into my world. Right.
Do you know her name?
Yeah, it's Under the Desk News.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I guess we should call people out when we like what they're doing.
We should. V Spahar. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. First name letter V. So, but they're views too, right? They're about views too. Even her is about views. Now she like Mr. Rogers, I feel, gives me something valid for my viewing attention, gives me something, important for my viewing attention. But, it is all still about views. And sometimes when we spend so much time viewing outwardly, we don't look inwardly, and we lose the ability to connect with ourselves and to emote, to release, to shine, to express, whatever the metaphor is that makes sense to you right now. But you don't have time to dream anymore because you're so busy watching. You're so busy engaging out externally that you don't have time to engage internally, and you lose these dreams that rise up from your depths. And, this isn't a call just, get off social media and do something important with your life. Social media there's definitely days where I've lost time to social media that I could be putting into something else. And, that's something to think about. I think that's, what I'm kind of hearing in this initial phase here is, where's your time and attention going? And are you turning it inward when it should turn inward? Are you allowing yourself to be a creative entity,
allow yourself to be
demonstrative
the source.
entity?
Mm-hmm. Allow yourself to be the source.
Yeah. Well, that's the very next card. That's 2 cards away. There's a seeker, then there's the sentinel, which is about action. And then there's the source, where you realize that all along it's been you. Mm-hmm. All along that the source of your emotions has not been external to you, but it's been internal to you. So this is the first card in that sequence, along the way to being released from guilt, which came up in the last episode. But along the way to releasing yourself from guilt, you go through the process of ideation, action, resolution, and then you have your release.
Shall we roll?
Shall we roll?
She wants to stay in deck number 1. She's not done with us.
Oh, good Lord.
I think this might be because you tried to file a complaint.
It is because I tried to file a complaint.
Oh. Oh dear. Number 4. She's down in her feelings. Oh, deep down in her root chakra now.
Oh boy.
Okay. So this is root chakra, earth, red, I am, and how it is impacted by green, wood, I love. Okay. Anahata, heart chakra. It says, namaste better than golden. Embrace a platinum rule. Show yourself compassion, accept it from others. Namaste better than golden. Embrace a platinum rule. Show yourself compassion, accept it from others.
Obviously, I'm kind of on the inward cycle bent. So I heard the show yourself compassion. That stuck out to me first. The first part of it, though, confuses me, and maybe it's because I'm not reading it. Can you just explain the namaste better than golden? Like, so are you making a play on words there?
Yes. So namaste is, I acknowledge, the God in me acknowledges the God in you, but I spelled it nama stay, like stay put or stay
I
away.
thought
This is
so.
I'm a stay. Better than golden. Now, there's the golden rule, right? And it is do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. But I believe that there's a platinum rule that's better than that. It's not expressed in the card. I specifically want people to try to figure out what that might be for themselves. For me personally, my personal platinum rule is do unto yourself as you would have others do unto you. So do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay, I like that. That's fine. That's the golden rule. But the platinum rule being do unto yourself as you'd have others do unto you becomes instructive. You treating yourself well shows other people that that's how you expect them to treat you. So show yourself compassion. Of course, you show compassion to other people as well, yes. But in this instance, you're giving this love and stability to yourself. And you also accept it from others once you've shown them that that's what you accept and expect for yourself.
So Jesus is an interesting figure. His teachings are interesting teachings. Lots of good stuff in there. I agree with a lot of it. I find it very, very fulfilling at times. Was a very selfless, not deficient, I can't think of a good word to say this, but there was sacrifice. There was a lot of sacrifice in his teachings and in his story. His entire story is about sacrifice, right? His entire story is about being a sacrifice. I think that there becomes a glitter to sacrifice, that in order to be holy, you must be sacrifice. You must be sacrificing. And there becomes almost an addiction to sacrifice, to where you're not a good Christian, you're not a good person unless you're sacrificing constantly. And I actually adore the way that you have very intentionally flipped this around, because this is I am and I love. Mm-hmm. Self-love. Mm-hmm. I think it's the one thing missing from Jesus's writings and sayings, is that there wasn't really a sense of self-love. Self-love was rejected.
Pride.
Yeah, it was pride, selfishness. We have, examples of the rich man can't get into heaven, and a lot of times that's taken as in certain ways. Obviously, I have some different thoughts about that, but I'm not going to get into the parables right now. But the idea, though, is that you had to be poor, sacrificing in order to be worthy of heaven. That
suffering here opens you up to luxuriating there.
Yes. I mean, that's what it became. I don't think that's intentionally. I don't think that's what Jesus was saying intentionally, but it's definitely the way that it's been interpreted over time, for sure. And there's a great danger in that, because you go back to you're on the plane, the masks come down. You can't save other people first. You can't.
You have to. You have to be okay before you can do anything for anybody else.
And it's not selfish to do that. It can be very selfless to do that. To put yourself in a situation where you can help other people. It's like a firefighter. They have to suit up first before they can save you. Mm-hmm. Right? They have to protect themselves. Otherwise, they can't do you any good.
Correct.
I read stories on Instagram that this person ran back into the burning building, and then they come out with third-degree burns and usually end up dying from smoke inhalation. And, yes, they did a miracle, right? They saved a life, but
at the cost of their own.
Yeah, we can't always just say, oh my gosh, that's so wonderful, that sacrifice. Like, no, that's tragic. That's absolutely tragic that a person died in this horrible situation.
Well, I think there's also something to be said in understanding the difference between giving and receiving versus sacrificing and taking. When you give, you're doing it from a position of abundance and it doesn't cost you, or at least doesn't put you into the negative. Sacrifice, you are sure you're still sharing, but now it puts you at a loss. And that has been glorified in some kind of strange hero worship. And I heard that a lot when I was a school teacher. It's like we want to call first responders and teachers heroes, but we don't seem to care if they can pay their bills. It's like, why do I have to buy all the supplies for my classroom? And then not only why do I have to do that, why do I have to get a second job in order to be able to do it? It's strange what we expect from quote unquote heroes.
There's something about sacrifice that really hurts me because my parents did sacrifice. We did not have means for a lot of things, and they would forego something in order to grant me something. But that sacrifice was my debt, right? That sacrifice became a debt that then I had to pay back.
Yeah.
And I have such a hard time with sacrifice because of that. It never felt good. So
well, even Christ's sacrifice.
Yes.
That's a huge debt.
Yes.
And it's a debt that a lot of people are forced to pay even if they don't even believe in the sacrifice.
Exactly.
So sacrifice, it does a double damage, at least, maybe even a triple damage. And I think it's important to remember that compassion and giving can be done without it being a sacrifice. If you do something and it embitters you to give something to somebody, and that's a sacrifice, then the energy that's coming through with it is toxic. When you give something to somebody and it gives you pleasure and joy to have shared whatever it is, okay, that's a different intention. Now, it's not to say that we can avoid all sacrifices. I mean, sacrifice is necessary in some moments, I suppose, especially if you're in a situation where you're a parent and your means are limited and you've got children or, whatever. There are plenty of situations where sacrifice is, what you got to do. I don't think it's ideal. I don't think it's ideal that a parent should, have to sacrifice.
Why are they in that position? Because of systemic issues that drive poverty.
They should be paid more for whatever the job is that they're doing. For a long time, a single person could go out and earn wages that would support buying a house, supporting everybody in the family, and paying for everything everybody needed and going on vacations. Now you can't do that even with two people working in a household. So I understand that sacrifice is sometimes necessary because of situations on the ground. I wish that sacrifice wasn't necessary in the first place. I wish that it could be giving and sharing. Well, sacrificing is also sharing.
Well, the reason,
but doing it from a position of pleasure and joy, not fear and bitterness.
The reason I resonate with Buddha more than Jesus is that Buddha tried lavishly rich things, right? That's the context into which he was born.
He was a prince. He was a prince, right?
Yep. He was born into
Gautama or something like that.
Born into lavish richness, the greatest pleasures, everything that he could possibly want was at his fingertips. And he rejected that. And then he tried asceticism, where he gave up everything and he tortured his body and tried to strengthen his mind through the lacking of physical pleasures, of physical necessities, right? I mean, starving himself, beating himself. And then he rejected that, and he kind of stopped and said, you know what? While he was meditating under that cobra or the tree, depending on the story, while he was meditating, he said, you know what? There's a better way to do this. There's a middle way. Right? There's a way that goes through the middle that isn't one or the other, that isn't hedonism and is not asceticism. There's something in the middle that can be grasped and that can be holy and that can be spiritually fulfilling. And I think that's the part where Jesus, to me, gets a little bit lost is that he was bending more towards asceticism, like total communal living, where everyone sold all their possessions and kept things and together, and that's great. But then the church had problems in its growth, and most people don't know this history. But the church didn't survive because they sold all their goods and lived together, because there was no money coming in. Because even then, they lived in a system where money was important. They had rich Roman widows, created house churches where the messages survived. Rich widowed women kept Christianity alive when the men had sold all of their belongings and were wandering teachers. It was rich women that allowed them to have a place to grow from, that established churches that could last for the hundreds of years that it took before they became the dominant religion.
Sure, but that's an example of giving. Also, in the early church, all the new members were expected to give everything to the church, so that everybody within the community could, have the resources.
Well, there's a middle way, is what I'm saying.
I understand, but also even there at the beginning of the church, that the rich widows were able to do that. That's still not a sacrifice. That's still giving. But other members of the early church were expected to give over everything, and then it is a sacrifice for them. So there's still black and white in that situation, that everybody was expected to give everything they had into the communal pot, versus what you're talking about. And for some people that was giving, and for some people it was a sacrifice. But what you're talking about with Buddha in the middle path is understanding that either extreme is toxic. Mm-hmm. Just like the first card was saying, whether it's right or left, it's not center. For our purposes, if it's Fox News on the right and MSNBC on the left and Mr. Rogers in the center, we're still aiming for Mr. Rogers here.
Let's get another card. Let's see what we got here. Feeling it a little deeper in the deck today. Not that matters. Mine are all out of order.
Yours are shuffled.
Yes. I have pulled the Ace of Flames. This is the first spark.
Oh, this one came up quite a while back. I remember this one. In principle, I don't remember what the context was in that reading, but I remember the first spark being in a reading.
Well, this is where our systems align, because we both have fire in the third chakra, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. So this is where our systems overlap very nicely. And the ace in the tarot is the beginning. For me, it's the beginning of the journey through the chakra. So I kind of interpret the tarot in my own way a little bit. But all the aces are the first blank. So the first seed, the first wave, the first spark, and the first breeze are those. So all the aces in my deck. And this is literally the spark of creativity. It's the fire of action, of doing, of being. There's a little bit more, my fire does lean a little bit more towards creativity, but that's just, me as an individual. I'm the creator of the deck. I lean a little bit more towards fire being creativity. It's how it works in my brain. I think that as we do things, we are creative individuals. I think that's what makes humans, is that our thoughtful actions are creative. And, we come up with interesting little things, little tidbits everywhere in the world. And this is the first of them.
Well, what's interesting here, talking about cleansing yourself of these, toxic influences, and then knowing that whatever's bubbling up from within is purely you, and taking care of yourself so that you can nurture that, prepares you for what? Action, this first spark. Okay, whatever this is that's come from the depths, we know it's you. We know it's authentically you because it's Mr. Rogers speaking. And we know that you are taking care of yourself and expecting other people to take care of you as well. And not take care of, but be careful around. And so now you can prepare yourself. Here we are, and action. You can take action on whatever that idea is that roiled up or bubbled up. What was the word you used?
Rise.
Whatever rose up. You're in a healthy place. Let's go.
Yeah, and I think we have to lean back right on the card right before that, because we talked a lot about what it wasn't, but just what it is self-love, self-worth, self-recognition.
Mm-hmm. Understanding that when you are operating from this place of cleansed, what's the word I want? When you're operating from this place of purified thought, it's not being dragged around by other people. Something has risen up. You can honor it. Here we are. You can feel confident that what you take action on is something that's authentic to you.
Authentic.
Because you've already gone through the filtering process and you know that you're not being manipulated.
And you know that it's coming up from the core of your being, and you've trust in the core of your being. You've trust at the core of what you've created.
Because you honor yourself.
Is set straight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the first spark, for you, is this first spark preparation or action? Is it the presumption that you've already done the preparation and now you go, or is now the moment when you begin to draw the fire higher?
This is the start of action for sure, because this entire suit is about action. This entire chakra is about action. Yeah.
Okay, so it presupposes that what you've already been pondering can now be ignited.
So in the Celestial's journey, which is my deck is based around the Celestial journey, akin to the Fool's journey in the tarot. But my Fool is named the Celestial, and the Celestial's journey, they've dealt with I am, right? They've dealt with becoming physical, and then they've dealt with the waters of emotion, the constant motion, the constant motion of emotion. Right. The unbalancing effect that it has. Right. So you came to a place of safety and security, and then you immediately flooded it so that
I do,
and now you've risen above. Now you're in the air. Right. You're not in the storm yet. Right. You're not to the love and grief and sadness and despair and any of those kind of higher emotions, but you're in the air, and you can make that first little spark, and now you are taking action. You've risen up, and now you are taking action.
The time is now.
And it's beginning. This is beginning. Like this is truly beginning.
Yep. You flip the switch. It's time to go. Nice. Shall I roll?
Yes, roll.
Number 3, we're going to the bouquets of flowers, the intersections.
Pretty.
$49. The tip of the top. So this is the crown chakra. Purple, Akasha, ether if you prefer, Sahasrara, and how it is influenced by I see, third eye, blue, water. Very pretty.
Very pretty.
So I know as it is impacted by I see, the way your morality or sense of purpose is influenced by the way you see the world and the information that you learn, or the way you perceive facts.
So I'm immediately just drawn to the fact that these two working together are about connecting with others and realizing the absence of differences between others, the true oneness. This is the third eye looking at nirvana, right? It's looking out into the great beyond. and sensing it, intuiting it, feeling it, seeing. I'm putting quotes around that seeing because it's not a factual sight necessarily. It's
still a perception.
It's a perception. Yes. This is the individual perceiving the multitude, perceiving the oneness, and feeling in and perceiving that dichotomy for the first time. And it's interesting that this is the final intersection in your decks as well. Like in my head, I was like, wait, is this Akasha? Like, is that the ultimate? But no, it's the penultimate ultimate. It's it's the step right before the ultimate. Because what is it? Is it 41 that's Akasha?
43
that's Akasha. So it starts the last 7, but the totality now is the penultimate. So it leaves everyone just on the edge, right there on the edge.
One more step, boom, and I'm taken with it showing up here. I'm not sure that 49 has ever shown up in anything in our readings.
I don't think it has. So. Yeah.
49. Welcome, 49. We just had that first spark, so we're starting out on enacting whatever this idea is that rose up from our depths. And given that it's been filtered, and given that we're doing it from a place of self-love, and a self-love that exists specifically for the love of others, then think about how exciting that is. It's telling you that when you come to a point of action based on those other parameters, you can begin to see not only your purpose, but the truth behind why whatever you're doing needs to be done. It's clarity. There's a lot of clarity here.
I have a card, the source of storms, which is something like feel the icy cold touch of the wind on your face. And it's about being at the precipice, right? Being at the top of Everest and ready to leap into the storm and realizing that you're the source. You're the nature, right? You're the starting point of it. And I get that same sort of feeling with this intersection of just at the precipice and looking out over the cosmic ocean and ready to leap.
Beautiful image.
Ready to join Nirvana, like just ready to ascend. And
especially knowing that it's something that you're doing that is based on some idea that you had, that is yours. That's going to be very gratifying for the listener who hears this. Give that some thought. What you're capable of can impact the entire world.
And obviously, I don't know. Maybe there's one person here that's actually going to achieve Nirvana next. And that's awesome. They're probably listening to us going, "Oh my goodness, so many things."
Send us a postcard from the other side, and just say, "I did it," and I'll know what you mean.
Yes, but even small steps, even small realizations, even small moments of true cosmic connection. That's where you're at right now, right here. You have the idea, and this happens to me in my writing sometimes. I'll write something and it will truly come from another place, and it'll be a ecstatic experience, like the oracles of old. It'll be an out of body, out of mind moment, and it won't feel real because it's so different, right, than what we perceive in the mundane day-to-day world. But it's just an amazing momentary connection to something beyond.
That's how I felt a lot of the time when I was working on the 49 Professions of Joy. And that was a very long process. I think I thought about it, if I remember correctly, I first had the idea for this 49, this concept of going through the 7 chakras 7 times. I think I first came up with that like 7, 8, 9 years before I started writing the book. Then it took a year and a half to write the book. when I finally started writing the book, it felt like a lot of brain work and it felt like a lot of heavy lifting. But there were moments, sometimes with the haiku, more often with the prose, and pretty much constantly with the professions themselves. I didn't feel like it was coming from me. I felt it was coming through me.
Mm.
And in the last reading, number 32, I think the episode was, number 36 of 49 came up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The final card.
Yeah, number 36 of 49 came up. That's my favorite haiku in the whole book, even though most people find it completely illegible. But it wrote itself, just blah, blah. And there were plenty of times when I was making the book that I wasn't even aware of what I was writing. It was just coming out, and I just checked it for typos.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Like a type of channeling. And it's interesting because that system is now turned into something I can write all sorts of other stuff with and choreograph, and I can use all sorts of stuff from this system. And it gestated for a while, but now it's here, and I feel like it's going to be one of those lifelong concepts that's with me forever, and people are going to get sick of hearing about it.
Hopefully not, because that's the basis of our podcast.
True. Yeah, even the podcast is connected to it.
Hopefully you don't get sick of hearing about our intersections and chakras. Yeah, there's that ecstatic moment that comes to us and really fills us with creativity, with spark, with joy. We are just connected for these brief moments, and it gives me hope that maybe there is something larger to connect to in the end of all of this, that there is some greater purpose, because when you feel that external connection, it is magic, it is wonderful, it is glorious, and fills you with a sense of purpose and completion that I've never felt in any other form.
Can I share some other stuff from 49? Since it's never come up in 33 episodes, I'm afraid it'll never come up again. The profession for this, I profess that I know my strengths and weaknesses teach me about my weaknesses and strengths. I hadn't read this one in a while. I'd forgotten that one. I profess that I know my strengths and weaknesses teach me about my weaknesses and strengths. And the haiku is ozone, thunder, hush, electric tension, listen, cascading rain, learn.
So it is a storm.
It is a storm.
We are standing on a mountain looking at a storm.
Right at the precipice of a storm. You can smell the ozone.
Yeah.
There's that tension right before anything happens. And then gush.
Oh my God, I have to gush. So I was in handbells. And I think I've talked about this before. But just in case you're picking this up and you haven't heard the other episodes and you don't know what a handbell is. So it's a bell, like the church bell, right? You know that shape of that bell, but they're designed to be rung by hand, so they're smaller, and they are all differing sizes. So if you don't know how music works, the strings on the piano get shorter and shorter and shorter as you go higher and higher and higher. So shorter strings, higher frequencies; bigger strings, lower frequencies. So same thing: smaller bells, higher frequencies; bigger bells, lower frequencies. And in a full choir, like a full professional choir, there's usually 6 or 7 octaves, and it requires about 15 people. So that's about 30 hands in order to ring the choir. And the big bells weigh about 13 pounds, and you have to ring them with 2 hands, and they're quite massive. they're imagine like a 2 or 3 gallon jug, and that's about the size of one of the large bells. And then the tiny bells are very tiny little shot glasses. There's this perfect piece. So handbells has the trouble of not being a piano, not being a choir, but playing a lot of choir and piano music because it's multimodal, multi-frequency, it's multi-voice. So you have the ability to do 4 or 5 voice lines with a handbell choir. And so it can be very polyphonic, very beautiful music, but very few composers write for it. It's usually adapted pieces. So we'll adapt hymns from the choir into handbells. We'll adapt classical pieces for the piano into handbells. So it's always trying to be something else. And it's hard because when it's not written to be a handbell piece, it just doesn't carry sometimes. So there's this group called the Raleigh Ringers, which are out of North Carolina. And they commissioned pieces from composers for handbells. And my absolute favorite one is called Tempest. And it perfectly captures the energy before a storm and then the energy of a storm. And it's absolutely gorgeous. You can find it online. You can go to YouTube, just type in Raleigh Ringers Tempest, and just know that I played it better. But I don't have, it never made it to YouTube. My college, I'm too old. I'm too old. The recordings of my choir never made it to YouTube. Only the later ones made it. And we had a magical choir. We had a magical group of people. We synchronized in a way that very few choirs do. And we played that piece so beautifully. But the thing that about it is that it kind of goes from this sort of ethereal music, and it's written in multimeter. So there's this pulse, and it's just this, and it just skips along, and it keeps the momentum and the etherealness going. And then we actually get to 4/4, like regular meter, when the rain starts. Then it's dun 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 dun, because the rain's falling now. Now it has a tempo, and now it's a march. Nice. It's a glorious piece of music. I fully enjoy it. I can still feel myself playing it, and it's been 30 years, 20 years. It's been 25, 26 years.
Muscle memory.
Yeah, no, I can still remember playing it. I can still feel myself playing it. And the thing about handbells is they're close to you. So the vibrations you can feel in your body. Whereas, like a piano, you don't necessarily get that feeling unless you're like sort of laying on top of the piano, because we're literally playing them in our hands. They're like our bones are vibrating with the sound waves. Yeah. You're part of the instrument, and it's that feeling I relate to this card and to this setting so much, is just being on the precipice, and there's really something magical and glorious about this. So if you're hearing this, we started with my protest, but maybe I take my protest back, because we didn't actually go down a political pathway. We kind of took a circuitous turn.
We took a turn away from politics in order to find ourselves.
Yes. Standing and ready.
Because whoever you are listening right now, you are not your politics. You are yourself.
We have a members only podcast where you can get insight into what we personally took away from the reading. And so you get a little bit of a longer episode. We'll hear us talk about how the reading affected us, what we thought about it, and what it meant to us personally. That's over on Patreon. So you can become a member there and help support us. We would appreciate that. We have a YouTube, Show Your Deck, on YouTube. You can see the pretty cards as we talk about them and watch the podcast there. You can also just, scrub through it and see the cards if that's what you're looking for. But it's there available for you on YouTube. Our books and our decks are available at showyourdeck.com. So you can get Jack's pretty hard, not hardcover, sorry, hard copy. So you can get a book signed by him with all the pretty colors and be able to use it in the way that it was intended. You can also get our decks there. My book is available on Kindle Unlimited if you are a subscriber, or you can get physical copies as well. And then, Jack, where can we find you?
I'm at 49 Haiku. So on the internet, that would be the number 4, the number 9, HAIKU.com. And on Instagram, it would be at 49 Haiku.
I am Dean Sage Media. Find me, I dare you. We also have an Instagram for the show. It's at your deck, and we will say goodbye.